to you with our program From the Desk to the Editor. We always like to remind you that the Voice and Viewpoint is San Diego's oldest African American publication. And ironically, at this point, I think we are the oldest African American for profit business in San Diego now. And so we are all 89 zip codes, 17 cities and unincorporated areas in terms of print. But the paper is available online at no cost in its entirety. It's distributed to churches and senior centers and libraries. And so it's kind of hard to miss it. And we're on all social media channels from TikTok to Instagram, X. We're just there doing things. And so we're excited to be this messenger in this age. And I'm joined tonight by Dr. Leonard Thompson III, our partner in this communication venture. And we are just coming off of a strong 66 Gala celebration. So Dr. Thompson, I turn it over to you.
Well, Dr. Warren, good evening to everyone. We are so excited about what has taken place over last weekend at the Gala. When I say first class, it was first class all the way. And I want to salute the city of San Diego and all those that traveled to the city to be a part of the Gala. You heard the cry, you heard the rules, you heard that this was going to be a gala of the utmost beauty and elegance. And boy, Dr. Warren, did they come and show out. Everybody just looked good.
They sure did. They were all dressed apart. And our 66-year, 13th anniversary gala, and it was a class act. And if you missed it, you can go to YouTube and watch it in its entirety in living color. And it's just a beautiful turnout with people. And it was educational, too, for those who didn't know. And we had a phenomenal what do we call it? Talk back?
Yeah, talk back.
Yeah, talk back with Freeway Rick Ross, which was just outstanding. Sold out all the books that he brought with him. Everybody loved the presentation, and the food was great. The hors d'oeuvres were outstanding. And the setting the ambiance was just second to none.
Yeah, let's give a shout out to the gentleman that did the flowers
yes.
and the centerpieces. When I tell you, I believe it was Mr. Rackley. What's his
name?
Yeah.
Rackley. Yes.
Him and his team did a wonderful, wonderful job. And what I loved about them, they had a base. They had the base of their centerpieces, but they were all live flowers. And so as they're putting them together and make sure that they're perfectly laid out, I said, which one is for the main table, the publisher's table? They said, oh, we're getting ready to design a special one for him.
Wow.
And so on the spot, they came, they were there. And what I always like about it is black businesses supporting black businesses.
Yes.
Our photographer, Rashad, black-owned business. The caterers have been with us for a very long time.
Yes.
And we had been working with them, when we look at how we did the tablecloths and all the entire crew for audio visual was all a black-owned business, and collectively working together, young people were being employed.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And other young people stepped out. Shout out to Samantha and Jira Providers. They brought in some young people to help us to literally pack everything up after it was all over.
I couldn't have done it without them, and they just told me to get out the way, and they got everything packed up, and they got back to the office before I did, and put everything away, and just made it a really smooth, very smooth operation.
Well, let's send a shout out to our managing editor, because she was hosting that night, and I felt like she did an outstanding job navigating through all the different awards and all the things, the protocol and protocol.
Well, I am just so very proud of her, and I could just sit there, didn't have to worry about how anything was going, and she had it all under control, and she has the presence to make it work. And so I was talking to someone just before the studio who called me to tell me how much they enjoyed the program and how well we function as a team in terms of getting through it. And so it was just outstanding in so many ways. On time, no delays, no glitches. Kudos to Mandate Record, to what you all did with the setup, with the production, the recording, everything. I mean, just top of the line.
Now, I will tell you one of the highlights of the night for me was Sister Margaret, Mother Margaret Terrell.
Yes,
She had said she didn't want to speak, but boy, when she got on the microphone
yes,
and
she
she started,
started
and she did put her hand on her sanctified hips as she said it, and people just went in. They just thought it was the best thing since sliced bread.
at 93, and
Yeah.
not only did she's just super, and the family was there to be supportive of her, and all of those things went so very well. The people that we selected, the bringing in the Greek community and the Motorcycle Alliance, and
Mhm.
all of those folks that we just saluted, it was just an outstanding
Yeah.
event.
And I also have to say that, what I kept hearing over and over again is that they really enjoyed the food.
Oh yes,
And that cheesecake at the end, I said, boy, if you have diabetes, you better only take a little corner of it because it was decadent chocolate on top and then all that beautiful cheesecake on the bottom. And people literally, normally you see a lot of stuff left behind, but this year you did not see
yes,
that.
nothing
Yeah.
left. And that's so important, Dr. Thompson, because this group, they had it scientifically laid out in terms of how many tables and how many people per table and the whole bit. And we didn't have the situation like in the past where some people are on dessert while others are still waiting for their food.
Yeah.
And everything was flowed. And I told them up front I couldn't eat because I was considered myself working. They had a nice little bag for me to take home with
Yeah.
the salad and the dinner and the cheesecake
Yeah.
and all of that. I mean, just hand it over, ready to go.
Yeah.
No fight, no struggle.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that I love about, the quality of team that we have. One of the things that I share with people that is so important to have long-term relationships, because when you have long-term relationships, not only do you get each other, but you know what to expect at the end. It wasn't like, oh, well, at the end, Doc needs this. No problem, we got you. And everybody literally worked together. If something didn't need to be shifted,
Yep.
people shifted together. And shout out to the volunteers. You know what I'm saying? The volunteers came up.
They were super. Dr. Hoyt, Miss Franklin, they were, and the beautiful young queen that assisted us, and they come each year to do that with such sincerity and eloquence and everything. So we really, it was a very super event. And one of the questions that I got so much, Dr. Thompson, was when is the next Biscuit Grits in Politics?
Yes.
And it is being set up even as we speak. We're working on it. And this year going forward, our productions are going to be a little bit different. But we're excited that we got a new year and a new opportunity to try to make some things happen.
And one of the things, Dr. Warren, is that Biscuits, Grits, and Policy, it is a time right now that from the desk of the editor needs to do the town halls of Biscuits, Grits, and Politics because of the fact that we're getting ready to go into mid-year elections, and we need to have some real conversations. And so letting people know now that those will be sponsored events. You know what I'm saying? So all of the people that are sponsored, that want to be a part of sponsors and are really ready to be a part of a collective team, we're looking because once we start it, we're going to have probably one a quarter, and making sure that every Biscuits, Grits, and Politics is going to be almost like a media event because everybody's going to want to be there based on who we have on the program.
Well, we're about 4 months and a couple of weeks away from the primary election. And people, from all indications, there are a whole bunch of folks running for governor, so they're not certain about that. And we got all of our elected officials up, the Assembly, Secretary of State, and locally, 4 of our city council districts are up. And so I'm encouraging people as we move to look at who's running, I'm encouraging folks not to rush to make endorsements. Take your time, because once you make an endorsement, you are no longer important to the people running. And now the deals are being made with all of the people that come after you that they want, and they don't have to worry about you because they got you for free. And
Yeah.
so I think we need to look at that very closely this year. And from our standpoint, is a business issue. we need the support of you, our listeners and community. And there's several things you can do. You know, we just experienced the transitioning of Reverend Jesse Jackson,
Hmm.
and he did a lot both from a humanitarian as well as an economic and political standpoint. And one of the things that is going to be crucial going forward for us is that since this president and his administration are against diversity, equity, and inclusion, new words for affirmative action,
Hmm.
since they are against all of this in terms of what we're doing, we've got to find ways to be more supportive of each other.
Hmm.
And we can do that if we start looking at the people that we spend money with. Are they spending money with our entities? Are they spending money with GOD Radio and Voice and Viewpoint? And if you're spending money with them, so they should be. That turnaround should be taking place.
Well, and those are all great points, but I want to just pause for a moment. You had mentioned the loss of the Reverend Jesse Jackson, 84 years old, had a bout with Parkinson and other rare blood disease. But I don't want you to gloss over the fact that it wasn't like you knew of him. You knew him directly, and had relations and all kind of things throughout the many years. Can you just give us just a little bit of background on that and your remembrance of this civil rights leader? A lot of times when we look at it, I want to say this, a lot of times when we look at civil rights leaders, we think of Martin Luther King and Jesse Jackson and the Owls and everything else. But, when I think about it, I think of the Dr. John Warrens, because you were all a part of the civil rights movement also. So if you could just share about the person that you work with.
Well, I known Jesse Jackson for over 60 years, as 6-0, going back to when we were both young and chasing events and issues and politics. We had our days. We didn't agree all the time, but we still had a relationship. And of course, one of my big memories for my daughter Chidi is that when she was about 2 years old, and I was with the Reverend Jackson. We took a picture of him holding Chida and kissing her. I always teased her. That was her first kiss, was from Jesse Jackson. Mm-hmm. And so he was very close to us. We did things in D.C. He was often a supporter of the late Marion Barry as mayor, and I was a part of D.C. politics in those days as well. And even when he would come to San Diego, we often had conversations because people wanted to come out. I remember one of the last times he was here, he was at Pilgrim, and people came like it was a town hall meeting. And he was talking about the various issues that they needed to raise money for, and I made it a point to him that before he got to the money, he needed to just take some time talking to the people because they were excited about him more so than the cause. And so a lot of lessons learned there from him. He did a lot. He was certainly there with Dr. King when he was assassinated. Mm-hmm. He went on and found time to be in the ministry. He was there. Yeah, well, we got all the stories written out. Everybody who had something, the Amsterdam News did a phenomenal job. We did a job with NNPA in terms of recounting moments of history and things with him. Because of, I remember the not only the March on Washington, but the Poor People's Campaign, Resurrection City, all of these things that he was always seeking to bring solutions, the injecting himself into national politics, making a difference. And I think the last time I was with him was about 4 or 5 years ago in Chicago. We had lunch, and we talked about what was happening in terms of the political arena. And it was one of those easy moments where you're just sitting around the table with a few people, reflecting on things. We were talking about the Obama presidency and how people in Chicago saw it and the things the rest of us saw. And probably one of the most telling pictures, because we know he ran twice for president, even as Shirley Chisholm ran once. They were all before their time in terms of injecting color into the race. But one of the most outstanding things was the night that Obama was elected president, and Jackson was there in Chicago, is to see him in the crowd with tears running down his cheeks, okay, his face, because that he didn't make it, but he had helped pave the way for Obama to make it. And so when I think about him and his tears, I also think about Colin Powell, who was in Japan when the election results came in, and he told a story of how he was in his hotel room watching it on, I guess, the computer or whatever, and when he saw that Obama had been confirmed as president, he said he just fell on the floor and on his knees, and he just cried in terms of the experience. And so there's a lot to be learned. It's so symbolic that he died during Black History Month, okay? And it's so significant because here's the real message. All of us in the movement never got along at all times, but we never lost sight of what was important, okay? And Jesse Jackson would tell it like it was. When Ron Brown, whom most of us knew, I knew Ron when he was back there carrying Vern Jordan's briefcase with the Urban League. And when I remember when Ron's funeral took place after he died in Bosnia in that plane crash, the people were talking about how great Ron was and the whole thing. And Jesse got up and said, "Okay, let's stop there before we, before we make Ron a saint, because he wasn't, and everybody didn't love him all the time." So there's a whole bunch of stuff that was going on,
Yeah.
And those people in those days, they called it, they fussed about whatever needed to be done, but then we still rolled up our sleeves and we worked. And that's something that we can take a lesson from today, because today so many people get mad, stay mad, don't want to come in out the rain to help with what's being done, want to try to do it their way, which is just making everybody happy that doesn't want to see success in the first place.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things about in this time, in this season, instead of us consistently working together, having disagreements, having fights, not liking something to say, and say, okay, well, we were on opposite sides on this one, but on this one, we're on the same side, and we can still do work together. I tell people that not even in your own family is there always total agreement. There's always going to be, and I tell people, try to plan a family reunion. And if you try to plan a family reunion, you will know that it is not always peaches and cream and everybody's going to kumbaya and hold hands. But at the end of the day, we have to say that we have to be there for the greater good of the entire body.
That's right.
One. And number two is we're stronger together. And then number three is that you might not like me, but you have to love me, especially if you plan to get into the kingdom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I always say this to a lot of people. So I remember one time somebody said, well, how do you get along with this person? And how do you get along with that person? And everything like that. And because they think that many times I get special treatment. And I'm like saying, I'm not special. Everything you've gone through, I've gone through. But I'm wise enough to realize that it wasn't personal. And I move forward because I look at the greater good. We got to stop being so thin-skinned at this point.
Yeah, that is so crucial, because I often tell people, I was in some of those meetings when they were planning the March on Washington, and there was some real knockdown, drag-out situations. Some people walked out, and some people didn't want to come back, and some came back, some didn't. But the issue stayed there, whether you came back or not. Somebody needed to deal with it. And I think today we don't have enough of a sense of collectivism where it's not just about me, that it has to be about us and what can I do to help us.
Yeah.
And if people would get that, Dr. Thompson, it would make a difference even with what you and I do. I mean, the black press right now is in its 199th year. We got papers like the Savannah Tribune, 150 years old, Afro-American, over 130, and Pittsburgh Courier, all these over 100-year-old papers that are out there. And they have been trusted messengers, as we are, and tellers of the truth. But we have to be smart enough not to let social media replace the elements that have been the closest to telling our story.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm a big proponent of social media because it's so easily accessible. But what I've appreciated about what we've done is that we have taken the best of both worlds, print and social media and digital, and made it available. You can get this voice and viewpoint right there on your phone, like you can get everything else. But here's the bigger piece of it, and that is there is something about feeling a book, feeling a paper. I think that, and this sounds crazy, but one of the dopest photo ops you can ever take is you sitting up there reading a newspaper, not looking at it on your phone. You know what I'm saying? And the thing that I share with people is that, and this is, there's so much greatness that comes out of the print media, but what I love most of all is that when, like, the gala just took place, I know, in fact, families were buying newspapers left and right because they were in it. This week, people will start seeing things and they'll be in it, And it's cool to have it on social media, but when you be able to put it up on the wall, when you be able to say, look here, let me show you this. I was in the newspaper. It's like it's not enough to just be on social media because everybody's on social media. But when you get yourself in print, that means a tremendous amount because print is what they say forever.
Well, C.W. Dean, they had the record place, and one of the very earliest papers we had a picture of him on the front page with someone else, and it was always hanging at the front desk when we were at the old office on Euclid. And I didn't realize it because I had looked at it. And one day, this old man comes into the office and for some purpose, and he looks up. He says, "Oh, you still got my picture up?" And I looked at it, and it was Mr. Dean. Mm-hmm. And I did not know. The music history, they had the record shop they had.
Yeah,
they had the record shop and all this. And so people, we also experience many times when people transition, their family members will bring their library books to the paper and donate them to us. They will also bring past copies of the Voice and Viewpoint that people have saved, stacks of them, okay? Those are collector's pieces. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have an announcement in a few weeks about something concerning the archival scenario with the Voice and Viewpoint, making things available. Mm-hmm. And so there's just so much to see. I was looking at an issue from 1968, mm-hmm. and it was Ben's Supermarket in National City. He used mm-hmm. to advertise with the paper.
Yeah.
Okay. And 5 cans of green peas for $1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, can I say something to
yes.
you? One of the things that's dope, if you come into our office, it is very difficult to win a Stellar. We've been fortunate, under the direction of Dr. Michelle Thompson, to win 2 Stellars.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But the first year that we won a Stellar, the Voice and Viewpoint ran it on the front page. And we immediately made a copy and posted up in our office because it meant something that our hometown newspaper carried that. And this is the powerfulness of what print does. And here's the key. And we can go and we can put stuff on social media and we can have rants and everything else.
And it's gone.
But my thing is, when you send a letter to the desk of the editor and it actually gets printed, and what happens is because the newspaper is seen in over 20, 30, 40 countries, it's not just here because, I'm being honest with you. On social media, they want quick bites.
Right.
They don't want the long whole story.
They don't want
But when they get to newspaper, they can get the whole story.
And they're going to read the whole story.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, this ad that was done, and I can't remember which paper did it. It had a person sitting on a sofa watching television, and it had another person reading the newspaper. And someone knocked at the door. It was like the person reading the paper put the paper down, went to answer the door, and came back and picked up the paper where they were reading. But if the person watching television had gone, they would have missed
Yeah.
what it was that played while they were up, because they didn't have the remote to pause and all that wasn't there. It didn't come with television, and most people don't know that now today
Yeah.
because it's so common.
So let me share this with our listening audience. In the music industry, when it first started, everybody had what they call the LP, the extended play, the big albums.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And they had the record player. Okay, understanding that everything that you see in the music industry or what you see in society evolves because it reaches its peak, and they got to find another way to make money. So at some point, they had went through the LPs. They went to the 45s. You know that required you to get a special a little insert.
Yep.
So those will work, and that all brought in money to the industry.
Right.
Well, now everybody got record players, and so we got to figure out how to make more money. So then we came to the tapes. So then everybody had to go buy a record player with a tape on it, right? And then they did that until everybody had tape decks and everything else that nature. And recording said, what are we going to do to keep the industry alive? Okay, we're going to go to 8 tracks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then people putting 8 tracks in their car, and it built another portion of the industry. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, what are we going to do? Then they went to CD players. It lasts longer, and it won't skip, and everything else of that nature. And what then? Okay, well, there's too many CDs. Then we went to MP3 players. And now everything is on your phone. But check this out, Dr. Warren. And with all the evolving of the music industry, they're now going back to LPs.
To LPs, back to the vinyl.
And back to that vinyl,
Yeah.
because there's an authentication or something, a specialness about being able to touch it, to hear the crackling of that music, and realizing that we went from them recording on 2 tracks to recording on 8 tracks to now you can record 300 tracks if you want to and create music.
And you know, what do we call it? The 8-track. I remember the 8-track because I had just purchased a brand new Le Mans Sports Coupe in 1972, and I drove it to Acapulco and back. and I remember driving through Mexico with my 8-track blasting and the air on, and playing Still Waters Run Deep, 4 Tops, and all that. It was a big, bulky thing.
Yeah.
But, it worked at the time. Now you look back at it, it would say, we have what?
Yeah, big old tapes, everything, but it's going to play
even
longer.
Find all that stuff anymore,
And what I say to that is that we are, even with the newspaper, with all the social media and all the digital print and all the things, those are all good. You know what I'm saying? For me personally, I can't read on the little books, the little digital books. I can't really read that well on. I got to have a hard book, or I have to have printed out or something of that nature. But I encourage people to realize that there is something about the original format. The original format of a paper. Put it in your hand, and we are now going back to that. People are not just wanting a digital book; they want the book itself.
They do.
And so I explain to people that people are still going to want newspapers because of the fact that there's a different feel and everything. There's nothing like sitting down, as a businessman with a cup of coffee, a biscuit, in the newspaper.
Yeah. And people used to come by and do that. That was a Friday evening thing. Get that paper, get home, and read. I remember Paul Sims used to talk about how he looked forward to getting his paper and his drink in his comfortable chair. Okay, and we keep up with the commentaries. We spend money to maintain Associated Press, CNN, all of those venues that we do. We work hard to pull the news in now from wherever it's taking place, and it's important. And speaking of that, Dr. Thompson, we need to, this is a time when we say a people without a voice cannot be heard, which is a slogan on our paper. This is a time for us to really begin to wake up and realize that in 4.5 months, we're going to be impacted way ahead of November by what happens at the primaries in California. And a lot of people have changed their primary dates, trying to get ahead of the game, to get people out and the whole bit. And yet we got some immediate problems, like what are we going to do with the city's budget? How is that going to work? Because we got a deficit again. Are we going to keep our libraries open? Are we going to keep our recreation departments going? You know, I have to say a word about recreation departments. My wife was over a part of the recreation department in L.A. for over 20 years. She did all kinds of things there, senior centers, and built a rose garden that's on the National Registry. And it's, I think Pasadena is in that area is the only place where there are like 2 rose gardens in terms of the importance of it. But we have to get involved again, and we have to take time to look at our own future. We got to take time for the meetings that take place, the town hall meetings that come out, the discussion. This is what they do on the East Coast. They pack these night meetings out in terms of people. We see on television every week the people who are turning out for the No Kings marches and the marches against ICE and Homeland Security. And we saw not just in Minneapolis, but all over the country every weekend, thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people are marching in protest. And I'm very concerned that for the most part, when I see the crowd, I don't see us. And we need to be there because we are impacted by what's going on.
Yeah. And I think, Dr. Warren, I think that what is going to be very, very important is that we have to have leadership in these No Kings rallies that don't look like everybody else. I think that in their preparation and people are just coming, there's truly I have not seen anybody step up as leadership when it comes down to people of color, as well as it's just like, let's come all, one come all. And I think that we have to also put our boots on the ground, and we also have to have skin in the game. You know, one of the things about it, and I want to be very clear with everybody, you know, everybody plays a role. You know, the Voice and Viewpoint plays a role. GOD Radio plays a role. But the publisher can't be at everything. So we have to realize that if the call is that we're going to do a No Kings rally, then we have to then get people that can be out there. And as a publisher, you have to make sure that you have someone be able to cover the story so that we can then bring it back to the masses. A lot of times people feel that that we're not present if it is not us. But what I thank God for is that he has given us a reach because we have way more people connected to what we do than just us. And so, again, and here's the fun thing about it, Dr. Warren, I say this. The opportunities that are there now for young people and young adults to get into not publishing, but the news game, the radio game, being reporters. The doors right now are wide open.
If they just come and get involved.
Exactly. And here's the powerful thing about it. Dr. Warren, and I know a lot of people don't know this, but you literally have to have a press pass to be able to get into certain things. You have to go down and get approved by the police department. They give you a card. They give you a placard for your vehicle, so you can say media on the scene. You can park in certain areas because you are media and everything. And you pop that card down there, come on right on in. You know what I'm saying? Because that card has privileges.
I have that press credential in my wallet at all times.
But we need a lot of people say, well, how do you get here? How do you get there? Well, you got to start with the basics. First of all, you have to learn how to report, learn how to cover stories, and learn how to write. And then when you get that, you get to a certain level, then you can get a press pass. You know what I'm saying? And you get a press pass. Why? Because you're with the press. You can't just go say, I want a press pass.
Yeah, because I want to go to the next ball game free.
Exactly.
It doesn't work that way.
So this is the time in the season, just coming off the Gala, Dr. Warren, this is a time that we're challenging youth and young adults. Reach out to the newspaper. If you're interested in being a journalist, if you're interested in being a writer, if you're interested in being a photographer, even if you're interested in just the business of the newspaper and want to serve, you will be amazed. And I have to say this, Dr. Warren. Can I tease you about it?
Sure.
At the Gala, I assigned a leader to assist you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I had to tell the leader, I said, leader, back off a little bit because you are to assist, but you're not supposed to be in the mix with them But this was a leader that leads their organization, but they knew, and when I said you're assigned to Dr. Warren, they got a big smile on their face because they knew at that point they were going to meet every top person in the room. You know what I'm saying? And so one of the things about even coming to the gala is that if you want to meet the power brokers, you have to be with power brokers. And when we relaunched Biscuits, Grits, and Politics, that is designed for everyday folks to be with power brokers and be in rooms that you're never invited to. But because of Biscuits, Grits, and Politics, you are being invited.
And I just want to make this observation, too, that because you're in the room, it does not mean that you have to speak.
Yeah.
Okay? And just sometimes just being in the room. When I'm watching the Balm of Gilead and I see all of those people as the song is being sung, one of the faces that stands out to me is Dorothy Heights. Ms. Heights was the president of the National Council of Negro Women. And she was a very tall lady. She looked like she was at least 6'2" or 3". And she walked with a cane, and she had some difficulty in movement, but she was always very focused, and she was always, the fact that she came in the room on Capitol Hill made a difference in terms of what people thought and how they spoke, because there was a time in the past when we had the Big Six, all of the major black organizations, Urban League, NAACP, Council of Negro Women, Urban League, CORE, SCLC. We had all of these groups, and when these leaders came together to do things and to confront issues, the system on the other side of the table listened because they realized that the people speaking had credibility, okay? And credibility, young folks, you can't buy credibility. You can't manufacture it. You earn it over a period of time by how you carry yourself and what you do, but most of all, not what you do for yourself, but the reputation you build doing for others. And that's where credibility comes.
Yeah.
And if you follow that, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how many people are listening to that part.
Well, you know, the thing about it is I believe that you have to keep on saying it and keep on saying it until they believe it. I was very fortunate. Shout out to my uncle, Bishop J. Blake Sr. There were a lot of rooms that I was allowed to go in because he was my uncle.
Right.
And he said, I could always take you there because you knew how to act. You know, I was seen, and I remember being in Reverend Lockridge's office. And it was a big anniversary. Yeah, it was a big anniversary, and all these preachers were coming, and I had got there early with my uncle, so I was sitting in a chair, you know. And then as these ministers start coming in, and I start seeing that big oblong table being filled up, I got up to give my seat up, and one of the elders said, "No, you're fine." I said, "No, sir. You know, please take my seat." And I went over and sat over in a corner on the floor.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And they filled the table.
And they filled the table, but I was listening to the conversation.
And you were learning.
And the thing that I share with people all the time, they say, how do you know so many people? Because I was in the room, and because I was in the room, when I got to an age where I was serving and working, they knew me because I was always in the room.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's the thing. Then, you know, and the scripture says it's better to be asked up than to be asked down.
Yeah.
So it's better to give up that seat than to have somebody come and say, why are you sitting there? Who are you? Because they do that. They would do those kind of things, too. Yeah. If they didn't think you belonged there, you know, they weren't going to be bashful.
Yeah. And one of the things that I'm sharing with young people today, you will learn more. Like I said, I literally learned more carrying briefcases and serving pastors than I would have ever learned trying to go my direction myself. And, you know, I shout out these young people all the time, especially in the organization, our organization. Literally, the things that we are seeing is because we have some young people that don't mind being of service, but also realizing that we're in the room. We want you to be in the room, but you have to learn how to handle the room. And I tell people that you can't tell old people, oh, you done had your day, just let us handle it. We got it from here. No, if you are smart, I tell people all this. If you would a battle a warrior that has been through many battles and you get ready to go to battle, you don't keep the warrior at home. You put him in a strategic position. Y'all might have the energy to fight, but he knows how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And if you learn from that, your strategy is totally different. Elders, and this is the thing, especially in the black community, Dr. Warren, we have to learn how to celebrate, nurture, and lift up our elders and keep them close and not try to put them out the pasture, because we're like one of the only cultures, that does not honor our elders.
We don't honor our elders and we don't honor our children.
Yeah.
And we act like everybody just shows up in between.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important what you're saying, because we've encountered it. We've had black men and now black men and black women united since about 2004.
Mm-hmm.
So in 21 years, okay? And it was a growth experience in terms of reaching out and being inclusive
Mm-hmm.
with people. But so many people came because they wanted something,
Mm-hmm.
but the ones who wanted to serve were never as many as the ones who came to be served.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the real key, knowing how
Yeah.
to do the difference.
And here's the thing, and I'll be real with everybody. We all want something, but it's how you go about your want. You know what I'm saying? When you go into a room, if you want nothing more than just be in the room, that's a something. If you want nothing more than at the end of the meeting to be able to meet somebody, you want something. But when you only come, when it's just like this, I'm only going to come when the president is in the room. But if the president is in the room, I'm not going to come, not realizing that what makes the president strong are the people that are around him. And so the people that are going to elevate you and lift you up and teach you are still in the room,
That's true.
but you're star-studded on the one thing or fixated on the one thing. And the thing that
And you missed an opportunity.
Yes. And that is the key in this season, is taking our young people, our young adults, and allowing them to experience all these different levels. Now, Dr. Warren, I'm just going to be straight with you. You've been in places that we could only wish to be. You've been on Capitol Hill. You've been in the presence of all these great people. And the question comes in is, how did a young man from where you come from, be able to get into all of these major places to the point when you walked in, they still knew you, even if you was a young person?
Well, I started that journey at 17, and I started it because I was in the recreation department helping kids. And the director, when a call came down for a job on Capitol Hill for a summer gig, they sent me. And so, yeah, I've been in the White House. I've been with kings and princes and ambassadors and embassies and the whole bit. But along the way, going to those places, I didn't go to them because I was trying to get there. I ended up there because of relationships that I built with people who were already there,
Mm-hmm.
and then invited me to come along. Mm-hmm. And then, Adam Clayton Powell made it a point of exposure,
Mm-hmm.
okay? He understood something that now we've reduced to what I call the 3 E's. Mm-hmm. And the 3 E's are exposure, expands expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so when you are exposed,
Mm-hmm.
because as an inner city kid from D.C., I was exposed to being with people who were at the heights of their careers while I'm down at the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm there so often in just a serving capacity, running a machine or passing out, sitting a meeting up room. But I was smart enough, if I was destined to sit up a meeting room, that when I made a folder for all the people that were at the table, I made a folder for myself away from the table.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was listening and learning while they were performing.
Yeah.
And I was self-taught in terms of
Mm-hmm.
how to function in that environment.
Well,
And those are the things that you're not going to find in a book.
yeah.
Okay? Those are the things that you're going to learn at grandma's knee or whatever. You're going to learn the value of respecting people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you never know who you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're respecting folks, it's amazing who they turn out to be later when they reach back for you because they remember you.
Yeah. Now, my one greatest beef with you, because I was never able to, I was almost there, but I was never able to have it take place in my life, is your encounter with Nancy Wilson.
You remember that, huh?
Yeah. That's what I was so close because I knew her nephew.
Yeah.
So close, but she passed away before I actually was able to sit in her presence. Let's just, it's Black History Month. Let's just talk about your Nancy Wilson experience.
Well, my Nancy Wilson experience was about 55 years ago, because that's about how old the Congressional Black Caucus is. I was there for their first event, the first one that they held. And when they were doing the planning, she had been invited, and she was flying in the BWI on a red eye. And when they start asking who would go to the airport at 5 o'clock in the morning to Baltimore, Washington, to meet her, nobody said anything. And I said, I'll go. And I had just got a brand new car.
Mm-hmm.
It still smelled new. It was a brand new cream chocolate Impala with beige vinyl roof and clean inside. And I went to the airport to pick up Miss Wilson. And so I'm there watching people come off the plane, and I'm looking for this lady because I got this image of her from the cover of the albums and everything. And this lady walks up to me in a safari outsuit and a skull cap and these shades on with kind of a frown on her face. And she walks over, she says, "You looking for me?" And I looked up at her and I said, "Who are you?" Like she pulls the glasses down and looks at me. And, "Oh, Miss Wilson, okay." And so I drove her to D.C. She was at the Mayflower. I got her checked in. And so she says this to me. She says, "How am I getting to the event?" I said, "I'm coming back to pick you up. That's my job to get you there." She says, "Okay." She says, "Well, if you're going to pick me up, you're going to be my date for the evening," like that. Mm-hmm. And so when I went to the hotel to get her, she came out in this beautiful dress. It looked like the album, looked like she wasn't walking, looked like she was gliding across the floor. Mm-hmm. And I was in a tuxedo and everything. She just came up and took me by the arm and said, "Let's go." And I doubt if my feet touched the floor. And and so that was my Nancy Wilson experience. I never forgot her, and I don't think she ever forgot then because I talked to her a few times after that. But it's an example of when you volunteer, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
When you're there to serve, And it was one of those nights where Ozzie Davis was the keynote speaker, and his theme was, "It's the plan and not the man," because we had lost all these great leaders. And I sat at the table with Michael Jackson. And of course, Michael was a vegetarian. And in those days, the dinner was $2,500 a plate. And they had these beautiful steaks on there. So I says to Michael, I say, "Look, man, I'll make a deal with you." I say, "I give you my salad, you give me your steak." He's okay. So we switched plates. We switched off. But again, when you were having these experiences, and Jesse Jackson was there then, I remember him. Because, we were chasing the parties afterwards, going from place to place, keeping up with the parties, and just doing things that young men do in terms of getting out, having a good time. Wouldn't nobody run down the hall with a Bible in their hand, saying, "Thus saith the Lord." It was just the things that you don't know you're building memories because you're just having experiences.
Yeah.
And so that's what I encourage. But young people need to build some good experiences so they can be helpful in later years.
Yeah, one of the things that I love, and I know that a lot of people, when they tune into the show, they listen a lot because this is always classes in session. And I'm looking forward. I'm going to tell Dr. Michelle that in the month of June is Black Music Month.
Yes.
And I would love to do a show with you around all the Black artists that you have interviewed and had in the newspaper over the many, many years, because literally nobody came to San Diego that was a Black in the music industry that did not connect with the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint. I remember it because y'all had everything covered, and I'm like, wow, I need a press pass because they getting everywhere.
Yeah, well, when God's Property was doing Stomp and everything, we brought them here and had them at the Civic Center. and that was when the post office introduced the Kwanzaa stamp
Yeah.
in the first year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've always reached out. Knew we brought Bobby Jones here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, and he was all important when he came, but he was humble by the time he left.
Yeah.
Because it was an experience. You know,
Yeah.
I saw him in Memphis a few years ago. I'm sorry, in Nashville,
Mm-hmm.
and he came over when he saw it was me. He came over. He says, "Oh, when can I come back to San Diego?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "You can come anytime you want to. We're
Yeah.
just not having anything." You know?
And you know, the one thing about it, that was our very, very first big production that you allowed us to be a part of and to produce. And believe it or not, to this very day, because of that relationship opportunity, we have a relationship with Dr. Jones, not only just like, hi, Dr. Jones, but private cell numbers. And
Okay.
we'll call and talk to him. He's interviewed
Good.
several times on the radio station. And he's so funny. In his older age, we said, can we do an interview? He says, yes. She says, I'm going to give you 15 minutes. And that's all I can give you, right? We said, Dr. Jones will take it. You know, he comes on the radio station, and an hour later, he said, well, I guess I should get off and go to,
he's still talking.
because he really enjoyed himself, because it's different when you know of a person and then you know the person and you can go through timelines with them and bring things back to the remembrance. I think that is so important that, you know how they say, if you don't know your history, you will never know your greatness.
No.
And you're bound to repeat the same mistakes that was done before
All the
you.
time. And see, when we brought him here, Jim had that Rolls Royce in those days, and he said, I want to pick him up. And he picked him up in the Rolls Royce in the airport and drove him. And Mr. Jones was just talking about, well, you know, I required this, that, and the other, and everything, and who are you and all that. And Jim pulled over, and he said, look, man, he says, this is my car. I ain't renting it. And the only reason you in it is because the Warrens asked me to pick you up.
Yeah.
He said from that point on, his whole attitude changed.
Yeah.
By the time he left, it was like, thank you very much.
Well, you know, Dr. Warren, a lot of people think that, you know, San Diego back in the day was just a little country bumpkin retirement community.
Yeah.
And I always have to remind people, look, you got Hollywood and you got Sandywood. You know,
Yeah.
we Sandywood. So when you tell, I tell people, when you tell us about Hollywood, we're like, say, wait a minute, we Sandywood, we good.
Yeah.
You know, we're the number 2 voiceover capital in the world.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many things that happen in our city. And so I always have to remind preachers and people that come to the city of San Diego, don't get it twisted. If you're not coming from New York, you know, D.C. or L.A., we looking at you as country. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We don't care if you come from Nashville,
But you
whatever.
can't figure this place out because you can't see
Exactly.
who's what. You can come here forever and miss the connection.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in my case, I was fortunate because Jerry knew everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my late wife, and she opened doors because of who she knew and how she did things. Because before I met, I came to San Diego a number of times on official business, and I never saw a black person.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were any black people here.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we make up, what, 6%
Yeah.
of this city?
Well, 3% of the city, 6% of the county.
Okay, 6% of the county and 3% of the city.
Yeah.
And so that's all the more reason that we have to continue to work together, support one another. And here's the thing, and I want to say this, it is so ever important for us to receive support from people that look like us, that benefit from what we do. But again, I want to say to every black business, you cannot survive only catering to people of color.
No.
You have to diversify. If you can have the best food in the city, but if only black people go there, you're going to be out of business because there's not anything to sustain. And that's the reason why I really love Surf and Soul. They have a concept, we open until we sell out.
There
you
you
know what I'm
go.
saying? And they have a certain amount of food in their game plan that they sell every day. And when it's gone, it's gone. But when you go there, and this is the real thing, there's so many people that call their orders in advance so they don't want to get there and not get it. But the funny thing, when you go there, you see military, you see black, you see white. Everybody want to come there. Thus, they always have a crowd because they've expanded their reach. This is what the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint does, is it expands your reach. Not only black people read the Voice and Viewpoint.
That's right.
Can you talk about that real quick?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got Vietnamese, you got Asian, you got Chinese, you got Latino, and you have the African community. That's why our logo says African and African American. Koreans. I mean, We have people who come to our office every day to do fictitious businesses that don't look like us, but they want to use our paper because they know that that works. And
Yeah.
we have never had a sales staff, though we are moving in that direction now with things changing, but people have always come. And that's a sign of success in your business.
Yeah.
We serve black folks. We represent the black community, but we serve all people
Yeah.
in terms of what we do.
Exactly.
And money is not black, it's green, and it's not white, it's green. And if you think you're going to open a business that's just going to cater to black folks, you will only be in business long enough for you to close your doors because we ain't going to be there for you.
Well, and it's that the thing about it, the consistency that you need. We don't have that population to
No.
keep the consistency, and so you must diversify in this city. Now, you might be able to go back to Atlanta because everybody there they got a higher percentage of African American. You go up to L.A., but again, even if you go to L.A. and have there's been great businesses there that go out of business. And I always say this thing, and through the pandemic, a lot of people went out of business, right?
Right.
But Dr. Warren, to this very day, I'm asking anybody to share, enlighten me. I didn't see one taco shop go out of business.
Oh, no.
And so,
I've never seen a taco shop close.
yeah, so I would
tacos
say,
have gone up extensively
Yeah.
in terms of what they cost there.
yeah, so I would say that we're always living, we're learning, we're experiencing, but we got to always ask ourselves a question. How are they still surviving?
Because they support each other.
Yeah.
And if you think of grocery stores or something, instead of Vons and Albertsons, just go to Northgate, Gonzalez, and Super 8.
Yeah.
And you will see a supply of food and inventory and delicacies that you would not find in any of those other stores that you thought were so well stocked.
You ain't going to find them neck bones and all the things that, oxtails, the big meaty ones. You got to go to where, and they understand it because they eat it.
And when I want to buy meats, whether it's prime ribs or whatever it is, neck bones, I go to one of my Spanish markets with a meat counter where the people that behind the counter don't speak English, but you're going to get some good prices and you're going to get some fresh cuts that aren't going to be frozen and packaged. So we have to diversify and not be afraid to go where others haven't gone before. That's business. That's how we grow.
Yeah. And with that being said, this is from the desk of the editor. Dr. Warren, kudos on where we're going. You have been in this race for a very, very long time. And I just want to challenge the young people. Now is the time to engage. Now is the time to get involved. Now is the time to open doors. I tell people, even at my age of 60, I'm always looking for my next replacement because I know I'm not going to be here forever.
Right.
And so we are literally mentoring and teaching and helping people. And then I'm challenging those that can. Continue to advertise, continue to be involved, continue to make sure the legacy of the newspaper will still be around and continue to, again, use it as a source of education and of empowerment. Dr. Warren, any final words?
I just want people to know that we're going to do a lot of exciting things in 2026, and we invite you to get involved, to get close, encourage others to support our businesses even as we seek to support you through what we write, publish, and broadcast.
Yes.
And be blessed.
And let me say this, Dr. Warren, before I close. One of the things, Pastor Gusman is on, and she says Classy Catering by Duchess is back on the scene for a season. One of the things that I loved about that is that she actually catered a funeral. And she catered a funeral, and it was very, very, they wanted the works, and she gave them the works and laid it out. But the thing that I loved about it, Mark Jenkins, black-owned funeral home, hired her to do that, and again, recycling dollars. And she said, I think she got 3 or 4 more jobs out of just that.
Right.
That's what we do as business people. We support one another. We meet excellence with excellence, and we all grow and we all eat. And I wanted to end off with that because that's what the paper does. The paper brings excellence paired with excellence so that we all are eating.
And when we do that, we all grow.
Yes. Y'all be blessed. We'll see you next week. God said the same.